Intro. I'm a colonel of internal security, reporting directly to the President, Special Division 5. Any comments? Lieutenant? No, sir. No, ma'am. At ease. What's up, Vault Dwellers? It's time for another episode of 80s Movies. What were they smoking, and where can I find some? I dug up 13 more films that genuinely bend reality. And today we're jumping into stories where Kirk Douglas squares off against a disturbingly overattached robot. Farmers process travelers into sausage, and humanity's future is decided through disco-pop showdowns. The 80s weren't just wild, they were gloriously unhinged. Drop a comment and tell me which of these chaotic gems you've seen, or which one sounds insane enough to add to your watch list. The prophecies are fulfilled. Number 13, Hawk the Slayer. This is fantasy filmmaking by people who heard about Lord of the Rings through two paper cups connected by string. There's an elf armed with what is basically a machine gun crossbow, a towering giant who carries a tiny violin and casually plays it, and a storyline that feels like someone threw D&D dice at a wall and filmed whatever they landed on. The cast treats everything with complete seriousness. When your hero is literally named Hawk the Slayer, maybe embrace the cheese a little. Bonus points. Possibly the only sword and sorcery movie where a nun plays a key role. Number 12, Saturn III. A perfect technological outpost where mistakes are impossible, until they aren't. This one brings real Hollywood names. Kirk Douglas and Farrah Fawcett facing off against a robot named Hector, who clearly has boundary problems. Imagine if someone told a plumber to build a lost-in-space robot, but make it unsettlingly aggressive. Hector is basically the Tin Man with toxic masculinity installed. Naturally, he becomes fixated on Fawcett, because it's the 80s, and even killer robots weren't immune to Charlie's Angels' appeal. Number 11, Battle Beyond the Stars. Think Star Wars meets Seven Samurai, if produced on a high school drama club budget. The main spaceship resembles an awkward health class diagram in flight. Robert Vaughn reprises his magnificent Seven energy, but now in space. George Peppard plays a literal space cowboy. Yes, really. John Boy from the Waltons is out here, saving the galaxy. And fun fact, this was one of James Cameron's early special effects gigs. Even legends start somewhere. Number 10, Monstroid. Picture Jaws, but swap the shark for a rubber sea creature that looks like it came from the discount aisle at Hobby Lobby. The movie insists it's based on a true story from Colombia. Sure, and I'm based on a documentary about Brad Pitt. The whole thing feels like a nature film that accidentally dropped acid. Watching the monster attempt menace, while obviously being puppeteered by someone who learned the craft that morning? Pure accidental comedy. Number 9, The Children. Finally, a film bold enough to ask, what if kids were creepy, but with black fingernails? A school bus drives through radioactive fog, transforming the children into atomic zombies who kill with hugs. Yes, that's genuinely the plot. Every parent's nightmare. Instead of asking to play Nintendo, your kid wants to give you a radioactive death embrace. Watching adults try to act terrified of children who look like they raided a nail polish collection is absurd in the best way. Number 8. Humanoids from the Deep. Roger Corman returns with fish monsters that resemble the creature from the Black Lagoon's deeply questionable cousins. They don't just kill, they have other intentions. How this got greenlit might be more interesting than the script itself. The practical effects are actually solid, likely because the entire budget went into monster suits while the actors brought their own cameras. If your Friday night needs a dose of uncomfortable interspecies drama, this is your pick. Number 7, Contamination. An Italian alien knockoff that swaps facehuggers for exploding eggs resembling moldy avocados. Approach 1, and it detonates in a fountain of gore impressive enough to embarrass a buffet line. The story includes alien coffee plantations, because apparently Starbucks wasn't intimidating enough. Watching actors pretend terror in front of painted foam props is half the fun. The alien mastermind looks like it escaped from a discount Halloween store. This is what happens when the special effects team prioritizes caffeine over coherence. Number 6, Death Ship. Imagine the Love Boat getting sideswiped by a Nazi ghost vessel. George Kennedy spends the film looking like he's reconsidering every decision that led him there. The haunted ship doubles as a floating torture museum obsessed with grim German iconography. How do you make a cruise liner evil? Add swastikas and archive footage, apparently. The highlight is watching respected actors deliver lines like, "The ship is alive," while standing next to props that look borrowed from Elvira's bedroom. Number 5, Galaxina. Picture every 70s sci-fi cliché, add a Playboy model as a robot, and light the set like someone's basement at Christmas. Dorothy Stratton plays an android who appears to shop exclusively at Space Disco. The crew searches for something called the Blue Star, mystical artifact or suspicious beverage, you decide. The whole production feels like someone muted Star Wars, blasted disco music, and confidently said, "Yeah, we can do that." Spoiler, they could not. There's even an alien brothel scene that looks sourced from a clearance bin at Five Below. Number 4, Super Fuzz. Meet America's newest superhero, Officer Dave Speed. After being exposed to mysterious nuclear red dust, he develops superpowers. But there's a catch. The moment he sees the color red, his powers instantly fail. Yes, that's genuinely the premise. Think of Superman, except instead of kryptonite, his weakness is anything resembling a stop sign. Somehow, he even survives multiple execution attempts, which says more about the system around him than his powers. Terrence Hill plays the role like a walking cartoon, which is honestly the only logical performance style in a film where traffic signals are your ultimate enemy. Amazingly, this movie was treated seriously enough to receive a theatrical release. Number 3, Forbidden Zone. This one features Danny Elfman and the Mystic Knights of Oingo Boingo creating something as chaotic as you'd expect. Imagine if someone handed John Waters a dose of psychedelics and asked him to remake The Wizard of Oz. There's a musical sequence set in hell, a strangely refined frog butler, and more baffling artistic decisions than most big-budget misfires. The entire production feels like a carnival funhouse collided with a fever dream. It's shot in black and white, perhaps because adding color would have made it feel too grounded. This isn't just a movie. It's what happens when theater kids are given cameras and absolutely no supervision. Number 2, Motel Hell. You may never again spend a night away from home after you spend a night with Ida and Vincent. And of course, it takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Vincent's fritters. That's a real tagline. The story centers on a farmer who literally buries people in his garden like crops, waits for them to ripen, and then turns them into smoked meat products. Think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre blended with Better Homes and Gardens. The grand finale features a chainsaw duel where Farmer Vincent wears a pig's head and proudly declares himself the butcher. That's not just staying in character. That's serious dedication to your business model. Number 1, The Apple. Holy disco dystopia. Picture a psychedelic mushroom watching a sci-fi musical and deciding to make its own version. Set in the distant future of 1994, this disco-infused musical tells the story of a world dominated by an evil music mogul who literally works for the devil. Citizens consume mind-controlled drugs shaped like apples, and the climax features God himself arriving to rescue the faithful. Yes, God shows up in a glittering Rolls-Royce to transport his followers to space paradise. And somehow, that's not even the strangest part. This film doesn't just cross into insanity, it goes beyond it. It feels like the 1970s refused to fade away and instead dragged the 80s along for the ride. From haunted Nazi ships to glitter-drenched disco futures, these 13 films prove that sometimes the greatest special effect is simply abandoning reality altogether. In the 80s, the line between brilliance and madness wasn't thin. It sparkled, glowed, and may have even been radioactive. Stay radical.